All right, the 2008 NBA draft, star-studded, and we're going to redraft it. Rita and I are going to put on our GM caps and see where these players will land in a redraft, so stay tuned.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the 2008 NBA draft. Just to name a couple big names, Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook are kind of the two big names that came out of this.
So the format of this is we're going to go through the top 10, who was drafted first, and then each will go pick by pick and kind of say who we think should be drafted in that position. So for Chicago drafted number 1 in the 2008 draft, and they got Derrick Rose, who ended up winning the Rookie of the Year and landed the youngest MVP in 2011. And then number 2 was Miami, and they drafted Michael Beasley, small forward, who was pivotal in the seasons, but then left when LeBron James and Chris Bosh came. The Memphis Grizzlies had O.J. Mayo, guard out of Southern California. Seattle, this was one of the last drafts we had. I think this was the last draft the Seattle Supersonics had. They drafted Russell Westbrook. The Minnesota Timberwolves selected O.J. Mayo with the 3rd pick. He was then traded for this pick of Kevin Love. So Memphis had this 5th pick. They traded it for O.J. Mayo. So a little bit of a day trade there. The New York Knicks drafted Dino Gallinari, another European player. The Los Angeles Clippers selected Eric Gordon. Milwaukee Bucks selected Joe Alexander. Charlotte Bobcats selected DJ Augustine. New Jersey Nets finished off the top 10 and drafted Brook Lopez. So we will now go through. Ryota and I will try and select who we think should be drafted where. So let's start with the first pick, where it all started. Who do you have as your first pick? I think this is kind of a consensus pick right here, but
I hope so.
Yeah, honestly. All right. Who do you have Chicago picking number 1?
Russell Westbrook.
Yes. I mean, just to look at his stats because they're so impressive. In his career, he's averaged 23.2 points, 7.1 rebounds, 8 assists over the 12 seasons. He played 34 minutes a game, so his usage is definitely there. He did have he sustained 1 injuries, but nevertheless, he's been healthy. 9-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champ. In 2014, he led the league with 28 points, which is ridiculous now because I feel like to lead the league, you have to score 30 points or 34 points, just be as James Harden. But also in 2016, he led the league with 31 points. 2-time assist champion. In 2017, he won it with 10 assists a game. And then in 2018, he won it again with 10.7. He went on a run from 2015 to 2018, averaging 10-plus assists a game. He's an 8-time All-NBA player. He was the only player to average a triple-double in 2 seasons. His career point total is 20,000 points, 20,315 points, 7,267 assists, and he's grabbed 6,186 boards as a guard.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously, his efficiency isn't as great. I know he's kind of like throughout his career, he just hasn't hit the 3-pointer, but nevertheless, he is a player that is bouncy and definitely cares and will give it his all. In the playoffs, he has averaged 24 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. I guess the only thing for this is he wouldn't be winning many games, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's only been to the finals once, and that was with Kevin Durant. So I guess for Chicago, you don't get that sense winner. But I think this is the consensus number 1 pick. Yeah. I don't know if anybody would else have anything else to say about that, but that was a pretty easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, who do you have Miami picking number 2? So they originally picked Michael Beasley, who throughout his career only averaged 12 points, um, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist.
Mhm.
So who instead do you have here?
Yeah, I think just going by the best player, another UCLA guy, I would go with Kevin Love.
Yep, I did too. I think I mean, I think what people would want is the Timberwolves, Kevin Love, just because he was a beast in
Mhm,
that, sense. So for his career, has averaged 18 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists. He's a 5-time All-Star, 4 of which came with the Timberwolves. He was a 2010 rebounding champion, averaging 15 rebounds a game. And I honestly think he is the best offensive rebounder in this draft. And throughout his career, I think he's been one of the best offensive rebounders. As we saw when he was with Cleveland, he kind of got overshadowed, but I think that is to be suspected when you are the third scorer on the team.
mhm.
He's also one of the better stretch fours. Um, but yeah, so another pretty easy pick.
Yeah, also,
Um,
I think I would have been fun to see him play with, D Wade.
exactly. Yeah, that's
They
so
had
true.
Shaq, so he probably wouldn't play center, but, they had
Right.
Udonis Haslem, right?
Right.
I don't know
So
how
yes.
impactful he was at that time, but
Yeah. So right. Let me bring up their team. So you're right. They did trade Shaq during this
oh, they
time.
did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So but in 2007, their 2007 team, Shaq was on the team and they won the NBA
Right.
Finals. Um, During this time, Jason Williams was 32, so kind of getting up there in age. You kind of, I mean, this is kind of when we might pick Derrick Rose just
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
Derrick
that's
Williams
what
is
I
getting
was
up there in
thinking. I was
age.
debating on whether Derrick
But
Rose would fit into that team with D Wade there, but I thought Kevin Love would make more sense, but
yeah, so Sean Marion was actually traded for Shaq, kind
oh,
of that
okay.
forward, 29. He averaged like 13 points, 8 rebounds. So I mean, it's not like an ideal fit, when we're thinking about maybe you have Derrick Rose, like soon to be the youngest
Mhm,
MVP, but I think looking at a broad picture, Kevin Love is the right choice just because he has been durable,
mhm,
um, and he's a winner. He's a proven winner.
mhm.
And he works well. He also works well with other like star players.
Exactly,
He's
exactly.
had
That's
to
what I
share the
like about him.
spotlight with
Yeah.
LeBron and with Kyrie. So,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people can't do that. I think we saw
Yeah, that's a good point.
one of those teams. I mean, Jimmy Butler, I think, kind of struggled with that,
Mhm,
with when he was matched up with Karl Anthony Towns, and also with like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. But I don't know. So some players just can't do that.
yeah, I mean,
But
for crying out loud, Love had to play with Westbrook, who's
yeah,
had
at
who's
UCLA, yeah,
been
that's
we've
true.
learned is tough to play with sometimes, but
Yeah,
yeah, there we go.
I mean, it is crazy thinking about like how much Russell Westbrook averaged like so many assists, but yet we still think of him as kind of that like ball hog player,
Mhm,
the guy that just puts up so many shots, but
mhm.
he does average so many assists. It's kind of weird to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, so number third pick, Memphis, which is weird because why would they
Well,
draft
technically Minnesota, right?
Minnesota? Sorry, yeah, sorry, Minnesota. I'll change that. I'm so used to having OJ Mayo with Memphis,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um, so who do you have here? I personally I'm picking Derrick Rose here.
I chose Derrick Rose as well.
Okay, yeah. Just because so in his career he averaged 18 points, 3 rebounds, 5
Mhm,
assists, and he shot 45% from the
mhm,
field. He was the youngest All-Star. He led the Chicago Bulls
mhm.
and they went on to win 62 games. So he is a leader in that sense, but
Mhm.
I think injuries really got to him and I think that
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
definitely.
was what happened.
Mhm,
To kind of put into perspective, I think I have some notes here. So he tore his ACL in the 2012 season.
mhm.
Post injury, he only played 342 games of the 656 games possible. So that's a lot of chunk that you're missing out on. I still don't think I still don't think Minnesota passes up on him just because maybe that doesn't happen. I know a lot of people are saying that the torn ACL was kind of a freak accident to
Mhm,
begin with, when it happened.
mhm.
Um, so it is a bummer. So maybe that doesn't happen when he's in Minnesota. We don't know, but
Yeah,
we're assuming that
yeah. But
he'll be
also the
that player.
Minnesota team, I'm looking at the roster, but, like, At 2018, like they went 24 and 58. They didn't have a good supporting cast. Like Kevin Love was a star, right? So I think it would have been really cool to see Derrick Rose kind of hold,
Yeah,
have that
you're right.
torch. Because as good as Kevin Love is, like I don't want to say he's a role player, but like he's okay. You know what I was trying to say there, right? He's not
Yeah,
like a flashy Russell Westbrook.
yeah,
Like
that's
Kevin
fair.
Love's a great player, but he's not gonna like do that. I think Derrick Rose could do that a little bit more. So I think that would have been a great pick for the Wolves.
Yeah, I do wanna stress how dominant Kevin Love was
No, yeah,
with,
yeah, yes.
the Wolves, but I think you're right. I think just having that point guard to kinda lead the team,
Hmm.
would have been beneficial for that young because they had Al Jefferson, I believe,
Hmm.
so which was
They
really
did,
young at
yeah,
that time.
yeah.
Okay, so we're flying by these. All right, the Seattle Sonics. They originally drafted Russell Westbrook, like we said, and they only won 20 games the season prior. But they have Kevin Durant, who was the second pick overall last year, um, in 2007. Sorry, not 2019, but yeah. So a young Kevin Durant, a semi-young Nick Collison, and then you have Delonte West, Luke Ridenour, sort of role players there. But who do you have picked here? I have Brook Lopez, going
Interesting.
here.
Interesting.
Who do you
Why
have?
Brook? I guess why I want to ask why Brook Lopez first.
Yeah, so I think I chose Brook Lopez because I looked at Luke Ridenour and Delonte West, and I saw that they have young guards here.
Hmm.
Kevin Durant is obviously going to handle the ball a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, Brook Lopez has averaged 16 points a game,
Hmm.
6 rebounds, and he shot 50% from the field.
Hmm.
Um, in Brooklyn during his like heyday, he did average 18.6 rebounds, two
Hmm.
blocks a game. So he's kind of like a defensive force, like obviously a 7-footer will be. Um, and then like I've just seen his growth and how he's adapted. He has turned into a great 3-point shooter. And
That's
he is
true.
deadly from the arc now with
Hmm.
Milwaukee, and I think he is having some of his best games.
Was he like that
Kind
back then though, or was that 3 pointer kind of
No,
a
he
more?
wasn't. So
Okay.
he's kind of evolved in
Okay.
that way,
Gotcha.
which I think could. During that time, though, he was more of the low post specialist, and he didn't really get injured that often. So
Right.
I think having that
Yeah.
durability is
Yeah.
really
He's been
good.
really healthy. Now that I think about it.
And then I mean, just going through like the other, I don't know, who do you have going here? I think just because of that like offensive kind
Hmm.
of play style, it
Hmm.
would really benefit um, Kevin Durant, and also blocking 2 points, blocking two shots a game is
Hmm.
really good, especially in the post. But
Yeah.
who do you have here?
I went. I really like this guy a lot. I always choose him in fantasy basketball because he's really underrated and puts up a lot of points. And he played really well for the Thunder this year. Danilo Gallinari.
You know, okay, yeah, yep. I mean, yeah,
So
that's a good pick.
some of
Yeah.
my reasoning is, yeah, it didn't really make sense to go guard here, and plus there aren't that many other good guards until you go to like I don't know Goran or Eric Gordon
Yeah.
or Augustine. But I thought it was too early to pick them. And
Mm,
Gallinari is like I think early on like he wasn't like the greatest, but he's really bloomed into a really good player. And if
yeah.
he plays with KD, he's not going to dribble around and shoot. He's a catch and shoot guy. Can do some post shots. Can play the 3 or the 4. So I thought he'd fit really well with the Sonics, and fit with
Yeah.
KD because I don't know. I think he's averages like 18 points a game last season. Last couple of years, he's played really well for the
I think in the
Clippers,
last 2 seasons,
OKC.
he's been blooming. Yeah.
Yeah, and shooting percentage is great. I really like Gallinari. So
Nice. Yeah, I think I have him going a little bit further down in my
there you go.
mock, but I mean, definitely. I mean, it's a bummer that they couldn't get Russell Westbrook just because he was so talented, but
Hmm.
picking up a big guy like you said, um, we came to be. Okay, for the 5th pick, Memphis. Is that right?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, Memphis. Gosh, Memphis and Minnesota always mess me up. Okay, so they originally picked Kevin Love, like we said. He
Huh.
is now
I think
going with the second pick.
I'm looking at the roster. I think the reason why they traded him was because they have the Gasol brothers.
They had Pau Gasol.
They didn't have Mark. It says
They traded, so Mark got traded for Pau Gasol actually.
oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then Pau Gasol went on to go for the Lakers, right? And
Right,
then that
right,
turned
right,
into a dynasty.
right.
But they did have Pau Gasol during this game. They also had Rudy Gay, so
Mhm.
small forward for small forward. They had Mike Conley.
They did, yep.
They had Kyle Lowry. I did not
Mhm.
know that.
I did not know that either.
He started 9 games for them, and
Oh,
yeah.
huh.
But Mike Conley was the 2007 number 4 overall pick,
Uh-huh.
and he started 46 games for them. But who do you have going here?
Now that I realize, I chose a lot of bigs for this draft, this first top 10. I said
Yeah,
Serge Ibaka.
I did too. I did say
Oh,
Serge
wow.
too here.
Nice.
Um, yeah, I mean, so we don't know the future. Well, we do know the future of how these players perform, but we don't know the team's future. So we
Mhm,
don't know Pau Gasol is going to get traded.
mhm,
And I guess they do get Mark, but
mhm,
I chose Serge because he is a defensive monster and he's
mhm,
been consistent in durable.
mhm,
So that's kind of like the one reasons why I've
mhm.
given to draft him here.
Yeah.
Um,
And
what
again, it
about
didn't
you?
really make sense to go guard. Like, you could go down and reach, but you have Mike Conley.
Yeah,
It didn't make
exactly,
sense.
exactly. And I had no idea they had Kyle Lowry. I mean, he
Yeah, so
then gets
Kyle Lowry
traded.
must have been the backup or the third backup, like,
Yeah. I think he
or he was
was a
injured.
late bloomer
Okay,
because I think
yeah.
he goes to Houston and then
Mhm,
goes to Toronto.
okay,
But
yeah.
it's crazy looking back at these old teams.
Mhm.
Um,
But yeah,
but
Ibaka's a great, reliable. I mean, he scores points too. He's good at the free
Mhm.
throw line. Yeah, defensive threat, obviously, but I really liked him as a Thunder player too. But I think, yeah, Memphis makes sense to get him.
Yeah, he was a 2-time block champion in
Mm.
2011. He averaged 3.7, and then in 2012 he averaged 3 blocks.
Mhm.
So, and he's also an
Nice.
NBA champion, of course, for
Yeah.
Toronto. The New York Knicks. So they selected Igor Gallinari
Huh.
with this pick. And who do you have going for the redraft?
I said DeAndre Jordan.
I did too.
Wow, I'm surprised we were this on point. We only had one pick that's been off.
Yeah, that is actually yeah. We did not. This is yeah.
But yeah, we did
Let
actually
me
not play. We did not plan this at all. To all
let me
the
know your
listeners.
reasoning.
Um, well, I mean, I'm just looking at the other pick, like people around. Like I could
Mhm.
go Goran. I think Goran would have made sense, but looking at the Knicks roster, they had Zach Randolph, Al Harrington, Stephen Marbury. I don't know if he was still good at this time, but Wilson Chandler.
Stephen Marbury was good. He was 30 at this time.
They
Yeah,
had Jamal Crawford too. I didn't even know that.
they did have Jamal Crawford, and they had Nate Robinson.
I forget. Yeah, okay, so definitely no guard. There's no reason to go guard here. And the other bigs, like I guess I could have gone Barolo, but I'm just not a huge fan of Barolo. It's like he's not even in my top 10. But I could have
Mhm.
gone JaVale, could have gone Eric Gordon, the shooting guard. But I just thought bigs made the most sense. And I think DeAndre Jordan is probably one of the better options out of college. I think so.
Yeah, I think I think I drafted him. He was a late bloomer,
Hmm.
for the Clippers. I
Hmm.
think he only started really coming off 3 or 4 seasons into his career, but
Hmm.
I mean, he's a defensive anchor.
Hmm.
In 2014, he led the league in defensive wins per share with
Hmm.
5.4. But that wasn't even his highest. So in 2013, he accumulated 5.8, and in 2015, he accumulated 5.5. So what defensive shares is, it kind of estimates how much a player takes into effect for their winning team. So
Mm, okay.
defensively, he took in 5 points, or
Oh,
he did,
okay.
yeah, whatever. Just some advanced metrics here. But yeah, so in his career, he's averaged 9.5 points, and 10 rebounds, in his career. So I mean, he's definitely a guy that's consistent all around,
Hmm.
and I think this is where he lands.
Hmm.
Um, and I think he fits well with the Knicks too. I think this is a Knicks pick for sure. I think it's
Yeah.
not too flashy, um, but hopefully they can mold him. I know Chris Paul came in and kind of reinvented
Yes.
DeAndre Jordan, but I think he's like a really good pick and roll guy.
Hmm.
So sort of like guard heavy for the Knicks. You have
Hmm.
Jamal Crawford, Nate Robinson. I think Stephen Marbury leaves a little bit later, but
Hmm.
this is definitely could be a pick and roll guy for the
Yeah,
future. And he
definitely.
ended up on this team for a season or so,
Yeah,
so
so that makes sense.
it works out. All right, Los Angeles Clippers. The original pick was Eric Gordon.
Mhm.
Who do you have going here?
I don't know. This was kind of a weird pick for me. Like the Clippers didn't have a whole lot going on
Mhm.
until they got DeAndre, then they got CP, and then they got Blake Griffin.
Yep.
So I went with Goran Dragic,
Okay.
just because I remember him. Or I mean, I guess the years that I've been following basketball, which actually hasn't been for that long.
Mhm.
But like as a Miami Heat, I think he's been a great scorer. Shoots a 3-point ball, good at the free throw line, good assist. Distributes the ball well. So I thought he was just a really consistent pick here,
Yeah.
out of Europe. And out of the other options, I just didn't think anybody else was that intriguing to me. So I like Goran there for the Clippers.
Yeah. I I stayed with Eric Gordon here. Um, I think he's over his I mean, injuries have played a factor,
Hmm.
but he still is averaging 16 points. He
Hmm.
won, Sixth Man of the Year.
Hmm.
And kind of like you said, these players down the line don't really have as many accolades
Hmm.
as the top tier, as the top picks.
Hmm.
So, and then this season, he's actually averaging or sorry, yeah. So he's shooting close to 50% from
Hmm.
3 this season. I think he's a consistent pick. I think what I like from him is that he shoots well, he shoots well
Hmm.
from 3, and he's just a scorer. I mean, he's not gonna bring a lot to the table in terms of defense,
Hmm.
but I mean, this 2007 team for the Clippers had Elton Brand, who won Rookie of the Year in 2000 and is a two-time All-Star.
Hmm.
So kind of like a defensive threat there. Corey Maggette ends up leaving, so you kind of need to fill that offensive void.
Hmm.
And I think Eric Gordon fits here. Number 8, Milwaukee. They picked Joe Alexander, who in his career only averaged 4 points, 1 rebound, and point 0.7 assists. So kind of a bust here. Who do you have going to fill that void?
Yeah, so I went Eric Gordon for the number 8 pick because I do
Okay.
respect Eric Gordon. I think he's a great like scorer. I just for some reason I just don't like him, so I went
Yeah,
Dragic before him. But yeah.
that's fair. Yeah, yeah. So this is where Gallinari goes here for me.
Oh, okay.
Um, I just think, like you said, he's a scoring machine. He didn't have the best few years to begin with, but he's
Hmm.
really kind of invented himself and become a high profile scorer.
Hmm.
Throughout his career, he's averaged 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. So you definitely gain the scoring aspect.
Hmm.
Um, But yeah, I mean, looking at the team, you had Andrew Bogut on this team, you had
Hmm.
Michael Redd, Mo Williams. So Andrew Bogut's like the only really one guy that I see. Um, Center, so kind of feeling Dino is going to be a small forward, fit that kind of
Hmm.
wing role. Front court, solidify that. So I have him going there.
Hmm.
Number 9, so we have 2 more picks. Number 9, Charlotte Bobcats. They originally picked DJ Augustine. Um, and he's been fine. I mean, he's not been great, but I mean, he's
Yeah.
still. I think he's been in the league for maybe like 10 seasons or
Mhm.
8 seasons. So I mean, he's filled out a career for himself, but definitely not a top 10 pick. Who do you have going here?
JaVale McGee.
Nice. All right, tell me why.
JaVale McGee is, I think, a highly underrated center too.
Mhm.
Um, got a huge wingspan, great blocker, gets those rebounds for you. So I think he's just like one of those centers that you just have to pick. And again, like I don't have a lot of respect for Bolo, just kind of a
Yeah,
personal thing. So
it
again,
seems like you don't.
yeah. So I think that's why JaVale. I just like JaVale McGee as a player. Kind of flashy too, which makes him really cool to watch. I think just makes sense for the Bobcats.
Yeah, I go here. Here I go Goran Dragic.
Mm.
Just looking at how this team is kind of made up, I
Hmm.
think they really need a guard, and I
Hmm.
think Goran is the best guard available here.
Hmm.
Um, they had Jason Richardson as a forward. They had Emeka Okafor, who we talked about last podcast, won Rookie of the Year um, over Dwight Howard somehow, but he's still in the mix as a center. And then you have Gerard Wallace and young Raymond Felton. So I think what you have here for Goran is you kind of split Raymond Felton and Goran Dragic together, sort
Mm.
of what Goran did with Phoenix
I
Suns.
see. That makes sense.
Because Felton's more of like that assist guy, I think,
Right.
and then Goran's kind of more of a scorer.
But what if you had Raymond Felton throwing up lobs to JaVale McGee?
Yeah, I mean that's true. I just think I just think what you have with Goran is too much to pass up.
Mhm.
You know, because Goran, I think, is a better player than JaVale, and I think you would also agree with me.
Look, I had Goran going earlier because he's so good, right?
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah,
why not have Goran here?
that's true. Yeah,
Um,
I guess for yours, yeah, that makes sense.
but yeah, so I mean, he's having his best career, averaging 16 points, 5
Mhm,
assists for and 4 rebounds, and he's
mhm,
shooting close to 50% from the field.
mhm,
So he's just a scorer, and I think he has to be off the board now. And I think he fits well with Charlotte. I think
mhm.
he can play well with Raymond Felton, so that's why I have him going there. All right, last
Yeah.
pick, New Jersey Nets, formerly New Jersey Nets, now the Brooklyn
Mhm.
Nets. But who do you have going here? The
I
original
mean,
pick was
I
Brook
was
Lopez.
split between. I mean, the kind of two profile players left are Augustine and Brolo.
Yeah,
But they had Jason Kidd back then, so I went with Brolo.
nice. Yeah, that is true. They had wait, did they have Jason Kidd?
I
No,
thought
they
so.
traded Jason Kidd for
Oh,
Devin Harris.
so they have a point guard.
But they do have a point guard. Yeah, you are correct. They do have a point guard, and they also have Vince Carter here. So I think this is
I
a
forgot
fun
about that.
team.
Yeah.
Richard Jefferson actually went off in the season. I think he averaged close to 39 minutes a game and was one of their better scorers. I think he led their team in scoring. I had George Hill going here.
Oh.
I think what you're gonna get with George Hill, especially with now that all the players
Mhm.
have been gone, I think what you're gonna get is a great shooter and just a good floor general.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
so you're not going to get much more than that. He now leads the league last season, or if the season ever comes.
Mhm.
He's leading the league in 3-point percentage at
I remember that.
48%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he is definitely a 3-point marksman. Um, and something that this team, Vince Carter, I mean, will take up a lot of defenders, and Richard Jefferson if he plays like he did play.
Mhm.
Um, kick that ball out, kind of have that floor general in a
Mhm.
sense. Devin Harris was good for them, and I can see why you passed on that.
Mhm.
So it makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
so finish that off, and then I mean there was other great players in this draft too. You had Roy Hibbert,
Mhm.
um, JaVale McGee, like you said. Nicholas
Mhm.
Batum was also in
Yeah,
this
he was barely out of the top 10 for me.
draft. But yeah, Mario Chalmers,
Yeah.
maybe. But yeah, so that's kind of our first redraft of 2008. We'll have many more to come. I think this was fun. Did you
Yeah.
enjoy it,
Yeah, I thought
Ryota?
it was really fun, yeah. And we had pretty
Yeah.
close, like, the only people we had a difference was you had didn't have JaVale in the top 10, I didn't have George Hill in the top 10, but everyone else is
Yeah, pretty much good. I mean, we were going on a run. We went on a run for like 5 or 6 picks where we were
yeah,
hitting straight.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, so I think this will finish up our segment of redrafting,
yeah,
and hopefully we'll have more in the future.
yeah,
But yeah, all right. Enjoy. Have a good day, guys, and yeah, see
yeah.
you
See
next
you
week.
later.